Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. I have just arrived from Embu because today I decided that pay close attention to the happenings of the Madaraka Day, and so I went to Embu and attended the celebrations. My intention was really to find out what exactly is the Mount Kenya saying about UDA administration? Because one of the intention why that Madaraka Day celebration was actually taken there was for what I believe political smoothing, because the stadium that was just renovated had really received hype on what exactly had happened. And I sat through, I was in the stadium for nearly the 1 hour, listening to William Ruto's speech, the 1 hour speech, and I'm really going to make a very honest assessment about it. I like normally going to the ground because the armchair journalism sometimes leaves us with a lot of personal opinions without really finding out what are the people doing there. And when you speak to the young people around that place, the only one thing they're telling the chief hustler two things. Hatutaki story mingi, shukisha bei ya vitu. Na kitu ingine, hatuna kazi. Those are the two things. I think that is one thing that I've just come to realize now. I want to share with you some video footages that I captured. If the video footage you're seeing here are some buses. So for those who are well acquainted with the terrain in Nyeri, in Embu, on your way to the stadium, kuna mahali unashuka chini because we're in the matatu. So these buses were standing by the road, and we understand, because we were asking those who were around there, that the buses ferried people to that place. One, it's school buses. These are just school buses. And they arrived there, in the morning at around 8, there were already videos that had emerged of people in the stadium that had already filled the stadium. So those who are the town dwellers, they were actually saying that those buses arrived very early in the wee hours of the morning, around 5, 6 there. And then people were dropped and they went directly to the stadium. So this is a number, and I did a very, just one-on-one count. I counted close to 27 buses, school buses. And there was also those buses from Nyeri County government and some others that were also in some other areas. So this shows you, and I actually, one of the reasons why I went there, I wanted to know now, what is the attendance? Because for me, it's a very clear pointer into what's happening. That Somalia village, I want to believe it's a bit of a rural county compared to Nairobi. So one would expect that people would leave their villages and come to town and pay attention to what was going on. And so this is what outside. Now, when you get just outside the stadium, for those who know Embu, it's within town, by the way. The stadium is somewhere within Embu town. This other video footage, I think you need to get it here because I captured it on what exactly happened. That these shops were closed, and they were closed because in the morning, some security officers there went and ordered those who were doing businesses around that place to close and not to operate. While in fact they were even complaining, they were caucusing, and we spoke with the caucus saying, some traders saying why they were blocked from working. Now the intention was to make sure that anyone who was going to Embu town was going to participate, or rather will get to the stadium. So they didn't want a lot of activities around the stadium. And of course, it did sit well because according to me, I think when the visitors are around, it's an opportunity for them to get some good income. And tell you the Moi days, they were even saying that those are Moi days, and they really got annoyed by the fact that they were denied and the vehicles were removed from that place so that no one was around there. That's why you see those shops are closed. Now, I pay a close attention. Do you know we could not get to the stadium? I arrived in Embu, I think around at 9:30. And when I arrived in Embu, I realized that the stadium first was full, hizo stands zote. But the people that were outside the stadium, that's a snippet of the video. These are people outside the stadium. The number of Kenyans that were outside the stadium were more than those who were inside. And what did you know what happened is this? I understand there were some cards that were being given for someone to enter. So those who had been brought by the buses from now other counties, not even from now Embu, were the ones that were in the stadium. Now, I realized that those who were outside the stadium were actually the residents. You know, and but then, to be honest, I started following that Madaraka. I was in Embu, but I used to follow. There was a screen that was put somewhere outside there for people to follow up. But you realize that while when you were inje, there were more than those who were inside. And you know what was the understanding? The stadium is very small. What has really been, in fact, the capacity is 10,000. Let me tell you, the capacity is around 10,000. So that is why when President then Ruto started his speech, he was actually saying that those who are outside should be allowed then to come. And you know, they had to. So when we were allowed, I was part of the group that were allowed to come then. So when we were allowed to come, we were supposed to come and occupy this place in the middle. Telling you, thank God we got some chiefs where chiefs were seated, so we got a space where the chiefs were seated there. But then that's bit of what is happening. You know what has really been touted as a project that has been fastened has been taken out. Now, I am so disappointed. And I'm so disappointed by the fact that we have a lot of hypocrisy. And I'm disappointed by the fact that a Madaraka Day is a historical celebration about the independence when the country got self-rule. Listening from the speeches, starting from the Deputy President to President William Ruto, you'll actually agree with me that they all drifted from, they said, the dominant theme of that celebration and decided to take that opportunity to do the political rhetoric. You know, you can challenge me. The 1 hour speech by President William Ruto was more politics of 2022 and now, and it has nothing to do with Madaraka Day. You know, long gone are those days, and I think on these Madaraka Day celebrations, they should actually envision, they should be fashioned to show, because they're supposed to be used to push patriotism. And now that Madaraka Day was being held in Mount Kenya, and I believe the discussion about the Mamu has been going on, that was the moment for it to be picked, but technically it was dropped. I will tell you maybe why that has been dropped. But so it will push more about the history of this country, where we are coming from. We are celebrating 60 years of self-rule, but the speeches did not envision 60 years of self-rule. And the president, in one of the most longest and boring speeches, decided to take the national airtime because all the because all the cameras were pointing at it, to try to do smoothing, and in a man exposing what I can say, man who is beaten in his own game. My point is three. William Ruto should not lie to us that, and I said, the finance bill is not about exclusively about the housing levy. And I remember doing an analysis here warning that the public must be wary of the political rhetoric around finance bill being narrowed to the housing levy. The finance bill is a sham in totality. in every other aspect, when you're talking about the taxation, the housing levy is just one, and it's creating a lot of attention and a lot of criticism because it's cutting across. For example, as content creators, the CS of ICT is not even, has not even commented about it. And maybe we are some few people. So no one can speak on our behalf. But the housing levy is cutting across all the civil servants, and that's why it's attracting attention. There is 16% VAT on fuel. There is a lot. So the public, and Ruto decided to use that platform, and the man, because he's seeing very well that he's facing rejection, he's spending a lot of time spinning and twisting the speech so that it can fit the objective of smoothening the population. That finance bill is about the housing levy, which is a lie.
And we have 1,411 slums in Kenya. We should transition those people, my countrymen and women, into homeowners. They should live in dignity like the rest of us, because we owe them a duty of citizenship and a duty of comradeship as we live in one country. I want to ask every parent, I want to ask every Kenyan that rather than ask, how is it your business? We must know that it is our business, because the 5 million young people are our children. They are our citizens. They pay taxes. And
a communication expert will tell you that that speech was very defensive and intentional. The intention was, one, I must defend what I am doing as a president because people are rejecting me. Everything is about, and is defensive. Look at the second bit. I had said I had my 3 PowerPoints. My first PowerPoint is reducing the finance bill, narrowing the finance bill criticism that it's all about housing levy. Now, the president is, if you want to see, is defensive and look, is stirring some rejection, is, the whole speech, the first 30 minutes of that speech, and when he was creating a background, backup for his, maybe his housing levy on what he's doing, he was pushing a lot of legitimacy narratives, telling the country on how election was done through a portal and it was transparent and those went to court, and so that is in Embu. And in Embu, I don't think, even if you talk about legitimacy, I don't think it's high stake in Embu. And in fact, let's listen. For someone who was watching from home, is it that which was expected? Expectation of those Kenyans watching is the president align himself. And what exactly is in it for us in Madaraka Day? And again, because president is making a public appearance and people are glued to the screens, they want to hear, they really want to get a lot of stuff in terms of what is happening, the national discourse happening in the country. It's true, it is fine for the speech tried to remain within the national discourse. But the legitimacy narratives on how people who are dissatisfied went to court, on how the election was very transparent in portal, was that really necessary? Someone gonna tell us. Is the 8 months? We are in June. Election was in August, so that is 6 plus 4 months. Now, nearly 8 months after election, the president have held 2 national holidays. He has presided over 2 national holidays: the Mashujaa Day in October and the Jamhuri Day in December. We are in June and you're still telling us about how election was transparent and this and this. Was that speech, the person who wrote that speech, surely, was it? I'm telling you. And very long and very just making corners. And in fact, if you ask me, that speech was by diversionary. I can tell you. It was just a diversion from what is really happening. Now, I want to look at my third PowerPoint. My third PowerPoint is the bragging about changing the conversation. And I want to face the reality here. The president is telling us that because they had promised to change the conversation from leaders to people, so he has successfully changed that conversation from about leaders, what is in it for leaders, for what is in it for the people. But now, how has it changed? Even if we are having a discussion about what is in it for the people, do the budget policy reflect, do the bottom-up transformation agenda bottom-up economic transformation agenda, do the better reflect an administration that is sensitive to the needs of the people? The answer is no. And it is not true. We have to speak. This is the reality. It is not true that we've changed our politics from tribal mobilization to issue-based. The president, you are lying on this. The reason being, we are still seeing skewed state appointments. Or do you want to believe we are still seeing leaders who are members of executive taking the microphone and telling people about non-shareholders and shareholders? Now, the statement of non-shareholders and shareholders, how does it conform with the statement that we've changed our politics from non-tribal to tribal? It is not true. And putting this issue, putting up brave face and just taking the national airtime to give us Babylala stories, I think that's not in order. Honestly, there was no substance. You may need to look at it differently. There's no substance. I just came from Embu, and I can tell President William Ruto, there are two problems affecting this country. One of them is the cost of living. That is number one. Number two is the high cost of living. Everyone outside, be it even, I was sitting next to a chief, and I decided really to make a joke thing about the chief hustler. Even the chief, when the president was talking about the housing levy, I'm telling you, where I was seated, if you look at the body language of those around, they're supposed to be leaning, but no one was leaning. They're throwing their hands in air in disapproval. So if you don't fix the cost of living and you brag that you've taken it to issue-based, how I wish that this budget pass as it is. Because some of these people, we really spent night and day telling you that, oh, this is not right and this thing is a con, but people did not buy it from us. So, wacha iturambe. That's one thing I can tell you. Wacha iturambe. The place, Embu, is very green, looks very productive, and I was shocked to see people. People turned up, people came, their numbers, and when you see such number, I was asking, but where these people come from? Telling them, but these people have come from these villages. It's because hakuna job. Now, guys, are you looking for But then, I want us to finish by first making this. Are you looking? But before we finish this, I want us to reach out to you. But before we finish this podcast, I want to ask you, are you looking for a commercial and a residential? And that is what exactly that is what I captured in Embu. You can also give us your feedback. But just before we finish this podcast, are you there and you're looking for a commercial and residential interior designer? Then allow me to introduce to you Kwango Art and Design. These are amazing company, and they do design building for interior works. This is including the gypsum, ceiling, the kitchen, wardrobes, tiles and paintwork, office furniture, reception desks, and quite a lot. So if you are making, you need an interior design for a residential place where you stay, building is good, and at the end of it, you need to do some designs. Now, whether it's a launch you are making, or you're establishing some business somewhere and you need an interior designer, then you need to figure out getting in contact with Kwango Art and Design. Now, their contacts is here, +254 710 444 353. Kwango Design and Kwango Art and Design. Their contacts here, I want to repeat, +254 710 444 353. So if you have a business and you can reach out to them, it would be amazing. Let's support others. I said this is one of the strengths of the bold, that we want to grow with others. You can also advertise with us. For now, if you need a designer and someone who can help you do it, they have amazing plan. They will come, take the measurements. After taking the measurements, you shall also talk and decide on the way forward, so that you can actually do the quotation together in a manner that is very accommodative and very comfortable. And so on matters of interior design, you need to think about Kwango Art and Design. Thank you.